Hey, future bestsellers, Lisa Daly here. Do you want to know what it feels like on launch day when your very first novel comes out with a traditional publisher? Well, stay tuned. Drew Murray, happy launch day today.
Thank you.
Are you excited? So Broken Genius is out today, which
Today.
is incredible and awesome and amazing. It's a great book, right?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
So what have you done so far today? Like, what has your big publication day ride been like for today?
Well, at midnight, when sales went live, I logged on to the retailers to see, what was happening and was it in stock and what was going on and all of that good stuff. And then went to sleep, woke up, did the same thing. And then I had an interview with the London Free Press, which is a local newspaper. And I did that and I spent the rest of the morning working with my publicity team on what to do, because it's June 2nd, 2020, which is a really strange time in the world with the COVID-19 pandemic, and then with the protests that have been all across the country in the United States. And I woke up ready to do a ton of social media,
Right.
and then found out it's now Blackout Tuesday.
Right.
So, don't do social media out of respect for the movement. And so I've been really quiet on social media. I was expecting to be doing like constant posting. And I'm like,
All day.
um,
Right.
so,
I think that's
so
cool though, that you're sort of looking at what's going on in the world today, and in particular on social media, because this is sort of like the world where you live, and
yeah.
and being conscious of what's going on, right? Because it's a really challenging time to be launching a book. I have a stray hair, sorry about that. So let's talk about the best thing that's happened today so far.
The best thing that's happened today, all day, I've been getting pictures sent to me by friends that have pre-ordered the book. They're sharing this is when the book's going to arrive. Look, my book is shipped. Some of them have sent me emails saying, Amazon says they can't ship my book and they don't know when, but I reassure them it's still coming. It's all going to be good. But the best came in from my friend Jim. He ordered one for himself and one for his daughter. So there's a picture of two of my books sitting on his table. So that's amazing. That's not just one, but two. That's really, really cool.
That's really incredible. Okay, so what you mentioned was, okay, first I want to know, how many times did you check like Amazon today?
Oh, like I can't even count how many times. I just keep doing it again and again and again. There's so much interest in the book. So many people want to read it, and not just friends, but we've had such great coverage with podcasts and blogs. And I was on that was another big highlight today. I was on John Scalzi's blog. I'm a huge fan of John Scalzi. He's an amazing author. He's one of my favorite science fiction authors, and I'm on his blog today. That is also pretty cool and pretty amazing. But there's so many people that want to read it. I've been checking Amazon incessantly. Just, do they have inventory? How many have gone out? What's the date like? You know what it's like? It's like when a new iPhone comes out and I'm constantly checking what's the ship date on the iPhone now. Except it's my book. How cool is that?
Well, and so we should explain to everybody who does not know, you have a background in tech. You were also on Gizmodo, yesterday?
Gizmodo this morning, today. Today. So yeah, it's like that's a great site. That's one of my favorite sites to go to for what's going on in tech and news, and they do a lot of Apple coverage too. And I'm a huge Apple fan, obviously. So
obviously,
this is so yeah, it's it's been a wild day, that's for sure.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I love it. It's like I've made that joke several times today that it's like when an iPhone launches, everybody wants it, checking the shipping dates. So that's really a neat feeling. Of course, I'm not shipping 74 million books like Apple ships iPhones in a quarter, but still people want to read the book. That's great.
It is. Okay, so, and I think you don't really it's hard to know until you've been in the business for a while about how special or not special your launch is, right? Because everybody has
Exactly.
this expectation of what's going to happen. Oprah's going to call, you're going to hit the New York Times list, like all this stuff is going to happen. But you, and I know you don't, like, I know you know because you're a smart guy, but I also think you don't know that you are having like a really special launch today. You have gotten a ton of media coverage, which is great for a debut author. You have, your book is like ranked, the last time I looked, like 8,000 on Canadian Amazon, which is phenomenal. And it's early, so you're going to keep, you know, going throughout the day. Your Amazon US numbers are also looking absolutely fantastic. So like, and you're getting all this press, and you're still doing this in the middle of a pandemic, and you're
Yeah.
doing this right and like in the middle of all these protests, you know, all this horrible stuff that's going on in the world, and you know, and trying to be supportive of that, and like
It's bananas. And you're right. I have no frame of reference. So I have no idea. I'm like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. So, you know, that's why I've kind of been focusing on just, you know, making sure that I'm talking to the people I need to talk to today, make sure I get through the media, and then just obsessively looking at sales, because that's the only thing I do know is supposed to happen today. So
right.
I don't
So,
know whether it's good or bad or ugly. This is my first time. It's,
so
well, I mean, some of it's ugly. It's just,
so speaking of ugly, this is my next question. We talked about the best thing that happened today. I know what the worst, I feel like I know what the worst is, but I could be mistaken. What was the worst thing to happen today?
the worst thing that happened today is just what the world is going through right now. Like it just feels like I'm really excited about my book. I want to share it with the world, but the world's hurting right now, and America is hurting right now. There's like I can't complain about it. I mean,
No.
I'm still safe. My family's safe. We're all healthy. You know, and I'm not directly involved in some of the horrible incidents that have been happening across America. So, you know, Scalzi wrote about this yesterday too in his blog. Like he lives in a rural area. It's beautiful. The weather's nice. And yet there's all these terrible things happening. So you've
Right.
got this horrible contrast between, yay, my book is out, it's amazing, and what a horrible time to, you know, be a cheerleader for anything when it's such a
Right.
somber mood
Right.
in the world right now.
It's almost
So
survivor's guilt in a way, like that you, right?
definitely,
Yeah.
100% like that for
Yeah.
sure.
Because you're human, so you care about what's going on in the world. And
Absolutely.
and also at the exact same time, this really big event has happened in your life, something that you probably wanted for a long time.
For years, been working towards it for years.
Yeah.
And
So
one of my close friends, who's also a soon to be author, he posted on Twitter, you know, that he struggled with whether he should post and shine light on my book today or not. But you know, it is still, regardless of what's going on in the world, is an accomplishment that I've been working on for years. And so it's a huge deal that this is happening today. So I want to recognize that, but at the same time, you want to be respectful of the pain that many people are going through today.
yeah. So you had the weirdest thing happen that I have ever seen on a book launch. Like, and I've seen a lot of shit.
You've seen a lot of book launches. So this is, I made the record books.
You did. So the weirdest thing that I've ever seen. On one thing, like this is like a good thing, bad thing. On a couple of the sites this morning, first thing this morning, your book was sold out. Which
sold out instantly.
Yeah, which is like,
yeah,
that's amazing. Except then you're like, oh crap, I have all this media that's coming through.
My first thought was that something went wrong with the website. Oh no, something's wrong with the website, because it can't be that they sold out of all the books. But no, that is actually what happened. They did sell out of all the books. But I mean, the good news from the Ocean View team is we have lots of books. There are more books on the way. You know, it was just an unexpected event, which is, you know, that's a happy unexpected event.
Right.
So
that's true. So the weirdest thing, though, I think that was like really batshit that I have literally never ever seen, and that is, do you want to tell us?
Yeah, I never thought like I have become like the toilet paper webcams of the week. Like all of a sudden, when my book went sold out in Canada, resellers appeared, and they were price gouging. They were inflating the price of the book and selling it for higher rates. Like like I had toilet paper, at the start of
Right,
this pandemic. That's a crazy thing. I
right,
never expected that I would be
right.
someone worthy of price
Like
gouging over.
$50, like for the
Yeah,
yeah.
$50, like way above cover price.
And what you were saying earlier was that it looked like, because you were obsessively checking Amazon, as all authors do, uh, that people had bought it at that price.
Yeah, at least two people bought at that price.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's not something we have any control over. That's
No,
entirely
no.
Amazon's marketplace and how things work on that platform.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah. So that's, it really is kind of amazing that has happened. I literally have I've seen other books where the price goes way crazy high. In fact, my significant other was part of like an anthology, this horror anthology several years ago, and he never had gotten his author copy of the book. Well, it became like this big like cult favorite. And so and I'm like, oh, I'll just get him one. It was like $1,000 on Amazon, and he's like, so yeah, so
oh,
that's literally
Lisa, you've given me an idea. I've got a few copies here. Maybe I should go make my own listing.
right there. You go. That might be your only chance in the world to make money as a writer. I'm kidding. You're going to
That's
be great.
wild. That's wild.
So I want to talk about your book launch because you have done like a lot of really cool stuff. Like you essentially were 100% digital, and yeah, which is amazing. So first, I want to talk about your background a little bit. Can you tell me what I know, but tell everybody else.
Absolutely. I spent 20 years in corporate IT. So I started in a technology back when all you needed was an aptitude and a desire to get into tech. And then, the organizations that were hiring people then would train you in what you needed
Right.
to know. And that's where I met Kelly Armstrong, the author, is we were both computer programmers together back way back at a bank, like 20 years ago. So, I've been in IT ever since then. Doing project management, working in all different areas of IT, whether it was, software development, networking, hardware, all of that stuff. So I have a really deep background in tech, and I've loved it ever since I was a kid. When I was 10 years old, I got my first computer. It was a Commodore 64, which you don't even know what that is because you're too young, Lisa. So, it was.
I will pay you later for that comment. So it's
But I've been a gadget person, so yeah, I was 100% ready for this to be a digital launch. Like I was already 90% of the way there. We had 2 live signings that I had planned with a national book chain in Canada at Indigo, and those got canceled due to the pandemic. And that was the only really thing that changed. Everything else stayed the same. Everything else that we're doing continues on. And in fact, the retailers have said that they want to continue with the signing in the fall, kind of when things have settled down. So that's great. They're still interested in doing that, but we just switched those 2 events for the launch purposes into virtual events,
right.
Partnering up again with Indigo themselves, but also with an independent bookstore in Texas.
So you can say their name.
Murder by the Book. Yay.
Yeah,
They're a great bookstore.
they are really a great bookstore. I love indie stores. I love indie mystery stores in particular. I'm like, I love all indie stores, but I really love mystery indie stores because they just are so into what they're into, and they're just
Absolutely.
so cool, right? Some of the coolest bookstores all across the country. Indie bookstore.
And the indie mystery bookstores always have like they've got a look, right? When you go inside, that wood paneling, mysterious kind of vibe to it, which is great.
It is. It's totally awesome. So, okay. So one of the things that you started when you're talking about like you switched over a few in-person events or digital events, one of the things that I thought you did that was incredibly smart was that you started building an email list, which is something that a lot of first-time authors never even think about, and yet you started that super, super early. So
right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. So how did you get a bunch of people to sign up for a mailing list for a guy that nobody's ever heard of in the book world? Yeah.
So
right?
Well, I started with friends and family, but then, I've been going to writing conferences for years, and everybody at a writing conference is handing out their card and networking and doing all of that. Well, I saved every email address I could, knowing that it would come in handy one day. And so I had all these email addresses, of everybody I've ever met and worked with. And I've worked in so many places. I've met people from so many different areas and industries and walks of life. And so I have a huge, personal contact list. So I started with that. I added in all those contacts I made at conferences. And then we just set it up because you need to give people, you need to get consent for a mailing list. We set it all up with a really cool freebie. So, hey, stay on my mailing list. Here, you're on my mailing list. Stay on my mailing list, and we'll send you, Drew Murray's Guide to Comic-Con. So, a lot of people were really interested in getting that free content, and they were interested in what I was saying and the connection. So, I've had a really high retention rate on the mailing list, and it's grown. So, and it continues to grow.
I mean, really, such a great idea to do the Guide to Comic Cons, because your book, Broken Genius, is chock full of nerdery, right?
Yes, it's set at a Comic-Con. It references many different fandoms. I did a podcast interview last week with Throwdown Thursday podcast, and they loved the book. And the one host, Patsy the Angry Nerd, that's his name, Patsy the Angry Nerd. He picked up on so many of the Easter egg references that I had put in the book. So many of like one-liners that came from a movie or a TV show that referenced something in the fandoms. And he picked up on so much of that. He loved it. He loved it. He said, I haven't read a book cover to cover in years until this one. And he loved it so much. He wrote a review. It was really a fantastic experience. Those are my people. That's my tribe right there.
Actually, those are your people. And when you find someone like that who's like, I don't like to read, but I loved your book, you know that you are like really, really connecting on
it's pretty magical to be able to do that, to bring someone back to reading, which is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So eighth of all, I want to know, does it feel like it's real yet? Or does it still feel like it's this thing that's kind of not real?
I haven't had enough time to really sit and just reflect on the realness of it yet. Like with what's been going on with the retailers and making sure there's inventory and all the interviews and whatnot I've been doing today, I haven't really had a chance to just sit and feel it. And I thought that there would be that moment, like when I started on this on the journey. When I get my agent, it'll feel real. When I get my book deal, it'll feel real. When I see my book, it'll feel real. When I get my author copies, it'll feel real. When it launches it, and each thing that's happened has made it like a little bit more real. But there's not been that one overwhelming, wow moment. And the big one that I thought it would be going into the bookstore and seeing my book on the shelf. But with COVID, I have no idea when that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, that is pretty real. And that is a moment, right? I mean, there's nothing like that. And that is a moment that never, ever, ever gets old.
I have a contact at the local bookstore, the big bookstore that's around the corner. And she works there. She's an employee, and she says, hey, Drew, your book is here. I'm like, that's great. And is it going to be on the shelf? She's like, well, when I say here, it's somewhere in the building, but we don't know where. Because they've been accepting inventory for 3 months while they were closed. And so they have, cases and cases of books that they need to open and figure out where to put them. So it's a strange time, but it will surface its way and make its way to the shelf. And she said they had a whole box of pre-orders too for people that had ordered for local pickup. And so they're working diligently to get through it. I'm not the only author in this situation.
No, but it's still right. But it's your first book. I do want to say, okay, so Broken Genius, we talked about this a little bit. Broken Genius is set in a Comic-Con. So just tell us, don't give us any spoilers. Just tell us what the story's about.
So it's Will Parker is my FBI agent, and he used to be a genius Silicon Valley tech CEO, and something really terrible happens to him. And so he finds his way to working for the FBI in the cyber division. And so he gets called into this Comic-Con because there's a murder and there's radiation at the murder scene that matches this really amazing technology that his tech company was in the process of buying when his whole world just blew up and fell apart. And so he gets called into this Comic-Con to find this really powerful piece of technology that everybody's after. So you've got Russian criminals and Chinese hackers and desperate corporate executives. They're all chasing after this thing because the person who had it was auctioning it off on the dark web. So you've got this sort of crazy high-tech dark web auction thing happening underneath the surface of what on the top is just a regular everyday Comic-Con. So there's this crazy cool kind of clash between these dastardly sinister things that are happening and the fun and joy that goes along with being at a Comic-Con.
I love that. I love the premise of it. Like, I'm just like I'm like 10% nerd. Okay. I'm like 20% nerd, but all the people I love are like full on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, and I say that, like, I don't really think of myself that way, but like, I love, the Marvel movies and, Doctor Who, and I like some stuff. So
See?
yeah, I know. I think it's different now, like, than it was a while ago. Like, I think it's so much more like everywhere in culture. But yeah, definitely.
It's become a lot more mainstream. And like, if you went back 20 years ago to a Star Trek convention, it was like just hardcore fans and the stereotype of living in your mom's basement and you're at this
Right.
this assembly to hear this actor from a 60s sci-fi TV show speak has morphed, and now it's this enormous um the fandom is so big and it's so commercial. And you look at San Diego Comic-Con in California, you look at Fan Expo in Toronto in Canada, they get 50-60,000 people that go to these conventions. And people save up all year to go to these conventions, and they spend a lot at these
Right.
things. I talk about it in the book. Like, if you want to get an autograph with your favorite celebrity, you can, but it's going to cost, in some cases, hundreds of dollars. You want a picture with them, that'll cost hundreds of dollars again. They're really, really, really huge. And a lot of that has been, like you mentioned, the Marvel movies. That's made a huge impact because you've got the power of the Disney studios behind it,
Right.
that have made it into a much bigger, more marketed thing than the comic books that I used to go and spend a quarter to buy when I was a kid from the corner store.
Right.
And so it really isn't this fringe thing anymore. It is very much a mainstream
Yeah,
phenomenon.
it is. So, okay, so this is your debut novel, and you're traditionally published. The book came out
Yep.
in hardcover, which is a huge deal. Is this your first book, though? Do you have more like stashed in the drawer somewhere?
No, this is definitely not my first book. I I've always viewed writing like you do learning any skill, and that there's iterations along the way. So you practice it and you do it, and then you learn from what you've done, and then you do it again. It's like a golf swing. If you're practicing golf, you swing the golf club, you see where the ball went, how did it feel, you have somebody coach you, give you a little bit of guidance, and then you swing the golf club again. And that whole process takes 10, 20 seconds. Well, writing a book takes months.
I
And
thought you were
so
gonna say years.
no, it can take years. And Broken Genius took quite a while because of the editing involved. There was a lot of back and forth to get the balance right, and just how much geek stuff is in it, just how much technology is in it,
Mhm.
to make it still readable for people. But writing a book takes a really long time, and so you write a book, and then you step back and you learn from it and you do it again. So like most authors, I think the average is 4 books that authors have before they publish their first one. So it's about right for me. I've got a few books that are on the shelf that
Sure.
won't see the light of day, but it was a great experience in learning how to do this, how to use the skill, how to practice this skill. So, and
Well,
Broken Genius is the first one that's the world is going to read. So I'm really excited about that.
that's really cool. Okay, 2 things before we go. First, I want to know, since you are a new author, but you have crossed a big threshold that a lot of writers want to cross, that is to becoming a published author. So, what's your advice for a new author, for a new writer who wants to be an author?
For a new writer who wants to be an author,
Mhm.
um, I think it's twofold of the same advice, which is it's perseverance, and how you get that perseverance is make sure you love what you're doing. Make
Yeah.
sure you're having fun while you're writing. Make sure that that's something you enjoy, because then if it takes months before you get an agent, or it takes years, or it takes several books before you get an agent, find a publisher, get that first deal. you're still enjoying the journey. You're still having fun along the way. You're still, telling a story. And if you love to tell stories, make sure that you're writing a story that you enjoy so that you continue to love it. You continue to learn, you continue to get better, and then you'll end up, getting that deal and starting a career.
So speaking of starting a career, you just did a perfect segue for me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Um, do you have another one that you're working on?
I have two that I'm working on right now.
Really?
Yes, indeed. Yep. There are two in the hopper at various stages of development. The Patsy the Angry Nerd asked me about that too. And I have to be cagey about the answer because at the end of Broken Genius, I leave it in an ambiguous place. And so I don't want to give away what exactly Will Parker is going to choose and where he's going to go. But there are more stories for Will Parker in the future. And yes, and again, it's going to feature that technology that's just around the corner, that future tech that is almost here, but not quite. And so, he'll be dealing with that. He'll be dealing with that.
I love the book, and this is not like I read a lot of everything. I love thrillers, but I love a lot of different genres, and I don't generally gravitate towards more of the techie stuff. But I really loved it. I thought it was really fun. I loved Will. I thought he was charming and hilarious, and also reminds me of people that I know. It's not.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah, and I really loved it. As I say, I don't consider, I don't really think of myself as someone who like is super on fire about like techie kind of culture. And so, I mean, like I said, but I loved it. I thought it was very accessible. There was no point in the book where I was like, what the hell is he talking about? I loved it. I thought it was really wonderful. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this today. Is there one thing that pops in your mind right now if you say like, okay, 10 years from now, I really want to remember this from my first book launch? What would it be? Anything?
You know what? It's the thing that I want to remember is I set this goal years ago, and all the various roads and paths that led me down, I got here, which is amazing. But I didn't get here alone. I had a lot of friends and family that supported me along the way. And, to feel the love and their excitement in buying the book, getting the book in their hands, sharing it with their friends, that is probably the most special part of the day. That is something I'm going to remember forever. So that's really great.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Drew Murray, you have to pick up the book if you have not seen it. It's Broken Genius, and it's awesome. And if it's not in stock, it will be soon. So
it will be.
All right. Thanks so much, Drew.
Bye.
Bye. If you are looking to write a book that you are super proud of and get it published, this is the channel for you. I'll be posting a lot of videos coming up to help you do just that. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I don't want you to miss out on anything. You can do this. I know you can. Let's get right. See you next time.